afternoon, Shan and Tam fam. We are back. We are back. So much has happened over the past few months, and we are in this season talking about love and marriage. We have some special guests with us this afternoon. We have Paula and Andy Marshall, Paula and Andon Boyce, and Dave Lawrence and Carole Bailey. We welcome you just to speak to us a little bit about your relationship and different things that happens within marriage. And we have some beautiful people with us today. Yeah. Tam and I are so excited to speak with them this evening about love and marriage. But before we get into it, I'm just going to ask the couples just to introduce themselves, to tell us how long they've been married and what makes them unique as a couple.
From this panel, we are the youngest married couple.
Oh, okay.
We have an old married couple with us. We are the youngest married couple. We are environmentally friendly. We're recyclers. So this is our second time around for both of us. We've been married just over 11 years. And
awesome.
Life is
pretty good.
All right. That's awesome.
I should drink.
So I guess what you're unique is you're environmental friendly. That's what works. Okay. Okay.
Recycled.
We're recycled.
Okay.
Paula and Andy, tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Well, I guess we're the middle couple here. We're the second longest. Married just over 13 years.
Yeah. Woo-hoo. Amazing. Yes.
And I would say the thing that makes us kind of unique is that we have a creative element to us that we like doing film and television and
the music, yeah, for sure.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So
they're very good at it too.
Yes, indeed. I actually ended up seeing Andy in a TV series the other day.
Already?
I'm like,
okay.
So we have famous people in our midst.
We do.
Well, people that like to give you surprises. Let's put it that way.
Right. Thank you so much. So let's move on to Paula and Andon Boyce. So am I then to understand that you guys are the oldest of the youngest?
I know.
Yes, we are the oldest in terms of being married for 16 years.
16 years this year.
I guess what makes us unique is that I guess out of the group we got probably married at the youngest age.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
So yeah, that's unique about us, and in many ways, you know what? We may be opposites in some way, but we fit together nicely. If we were to stand, you'd have seen how opposite
we are. For sure.
Yeah.
But we fit like a glove.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, since you guys are the longest married couple, the first question is actually for you. Yes. So after the wedding and the honeymoon, what were some of the most challenging things you guys had to navigate as a couple? No pressure.
So one of the things that I remember, I even remember the road we were driving on, because it's like we just had this conversation and there was some conflict and there's this awkward silence and we're both staring out the opposite windows, but we realize, oh, we're going home to the same house. This was different, but we have to sit with this. What do we do? So that was probably the first thing that we had to navigate. Yes. It's like, how do we, deal with our differences now that we're really getting to know each other. I mean, we knew each other, but knew all of each other.
Yes.
Those were some adjustments to make.
Yeah. Process of becoming one, because we're similar, but then we also come from different backgrounds, right?
Absolutely.
So kind of blend what our beliefs, how we manage, how we handle communication, and then we're still learning about each other through each other. So I'm learning more about myself through him. True. And sometimes I don't like what I see. But it's humbling. But yeah, that's the adjustment piece.
And as we Most at the time.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Mhm. And I guess that's something that you had to navigate throughout the years, because when you had an argument probably prior to coming together, you could go your separate ways and not talking, but no, you had to confront the issue, right? Carole and Dave and Andy and Paula, do you have anything to add to what Andon and Paula said?
Yes. It's very different because both Bailey and I, we had been on our own for many, many, many years before we got together.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't need to check anything. I know my way is right. What's there to talk about? This is the way it needs to be done. And as you guys mentioned, you know, being on the same team, you're going to the same place. We have the same life goals, and that is to see God. And I would love to do it with her beside me as a friend, as opposed to having alienated her because I'm too stupid to know the difference. Because as a guy, we're very task oriented. Give us a task, we're happy. Leave us with nothing to do. We don't know what to do. She tells me there's a problem with a sink. I don't need to discuss what it is. I see what it is. Let me fix it. We don't need to talk about, well, should we do this or should we do that? We're going to come around to my point of view anyway. Because I've just had more sinks to fix. So I've got the life experience. She's got life experience in a lot of other things that I haven't. But manual stuff, let's just do it. So it's learning to remember that there's somebody else involved that you care about, that you respect, and you want to keep it that way. Because whether the sink get fixed or not, I want us to be comfortable together. So if it means blowing up the sink just so we can be comfortable, let's light it.
And just to be clear, if he knows how to fix a sink, I'm not going to be telling him anything. I may ask some questions if something seems a little illogical, or if I want to learn something more. But I think one of the things that I don't think was hard for us to do was, he doesn't like doing anything with the money, so I do it. He doesn't like, you know, I said, you've been in the car business, you know about stuff to do with cars. When it comes to the final decision, I'm leaving it up to you, even if I happen not to agree, because I think you have more experience. So at the end, somebody has to make the final decision. So for me, where you've had the experience, you take it. You know, you can get the insurance quotes. You can do the things with the tires and all of that. Just let me have the car that's running well, and I'll drive.
And as long as I get my allowance, she can be the Minister of Finance.
Tam, you're on mute.
My goodness. Yeah, sorry. So yeah, I love what you said, Carole, because it's really about recognizing the individual's strengths. Absolutely. And giving each other space in the relationship, like to do what you do better in some instances, or what you do best. So I really, really like that. Paula and Andy, what are your thoughts about that in terms of after the honeymoon phase? Then what?
That's over? What?
Maybe for some.
Well, you know, after the honeymoon phase, it's about living life, right? Understanding that you're going to be together now, and you're going to be together in everything. One of the ways that we tried to simplify moving forward, or understand how to move forward, and it wasn't perfect, was we kind of divided the responsibilities of the household in a very general way. So generally, I said, okay, I'm going to take care of everything outside the house. And generally, she's going to take care of stuff inside the house.
That was kind of problematic at first. But we adjusted. Yeah,
absolutely. Because, you know, taking care of it. So, okay, say what was problematic about it at first, if you can.
Well, at first, I'm a person, I love cooking, but when it became a chore, it seemed like more of a chore, and it had to be done in order to survive. And it was always being sourced by me. I was like, oh, this is not what I was expecting. So I like it. I love it. Andy's a great cook, and I love when he does take that. But we've kind of balanced it out now. We've kind of, like, I've accepted that, so I'm not fighting against it so much. And he does help out when he chooses to, when it's convenient, when it works out with his schedule. And sometimes I'm doing the things outside, and so we kind of
balance each other.
Find a balance.
Yeah, find a balance, because really and truly, I mean, there are times where, when it's a stress on her, then it becomes a stress on me.
Oh yeah,
right?
Right.
So so if it stops working for her, and so, like, for example, during the pandemic now, we've had to be home every Sabbath, right? And so Sabbath lunch, I like Sabbath lunch to be a special thing, and so for the last, I don't know, year or so, we've basically alternated Sabbath lunches. Right? So this Sabbath, it's her turn. Next time, it's my turn. And we're gonna do something a little different. We've gone on a cultural sort of exploration,
Nice.
food and whatever. So but you're talking about, like, right after the honeymoon phase, that was something that we tried to do. We realized it worked generally, but it also provided what I call adjustment stress.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Which we had to sort of work through as well.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
yeah. I guess my point of bringing all that up is to say, whatever you try right after the honeymoon phase, it may not work 100%.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to be flexible.
That's the word, flexible.
Yeah.
Right. So going into the marriage, did anybody do premarital counseling? And if so, or if not, do you think that it is a must for couples to do? Who wants to take that first?
Look at Dave. Dave is laughing.
Okay, so Andy's volunteering, Paula.
So we actually did pre-engagement counseling.
Interesting.
So it's an interesting concept I learned from a friend, and it's counseling before we say yes, because a lot of times, and I'm going to speak on behalf of the women more so, they're pressured into saying yes. They were with this person for so long, or they've said yes and they're realizing that maybe they should not have said yes and they should not be with this person. And now the pressure's on because we've already selected a date, the venue, all of this, and there's just a lot of pressure. And sometimes they will go into marriage with apprehensions, but they were too afraid to back out. So we did pre-engagement counseling. So, and with the 10 sessions, it's finding out how compatible you are with your partner. And the pastor will advise, if the pastor sees some interesting red flags, we'll bring that to your attention, and you make the decision on how to go forward or how not to go forward, or whatever the case is. But you go into saying yes with your eyes wide open. And I would strongly advise that for any couple that is very serious to live in a Christian lifestyle, to have a spouse that both of them are growing together in the Lord. It needs to be taken seriously. Can't just play around with it. So.
You're right, Paula. You're right. And the pre-engagement counseling, I think it's definitely valid, because at least you see what you're moving towards, even though not everything is revealed during counseling, right? Not everything is revealed during counseling, and you will find out things while you go on as well in your life, right?
Yeah,
so I think, go ahead, Tam.
Yeah, I'm thinking that, you never stop learning about your spouse, really, right? Because if you think about it, I mean, as you grow, as you get a year older every year, there's inevitably things that change about you. And once you're in a relationship, that is bound to impact the other person, right? So it might be, you know, you discovering something new about yourself this year versus last year, and your spouse may or may not like that, right? But it is the whole process of growing, continuing to grow and to learn as an individual, and I guess as a couple too. But the pre-engagement counseling is actually a very interesting concept for me, because I didn't even know that that existed.
I think that the pre-engagement is a fabulous thing, because once you've said yes, and now you're going to counseling, you're not really listening. Because you've already said yes. Yeah, I know it'll be different with us. Both of us had premarital counseling.
Yes.
Okay.
And now when we're getting married again, we had life counseling.
I remember when we did do a weekend, I was at Andrews, and they did an engagement seminar through the weekend, and Dave actually came down, and we did go through like kind of like that intense course for
a boot camp.
Weekend.
Oh, wow.
Boot camp one.
If you take a semester and you shrink it down into a weekend,
That's what that was.
That's what it was.
But it was good stuff too.
Okay.
And we did do some things on our own. I think Dave got this. I think the booklet must have been about 100 pages. Maybe we made it to page 4.
but it was the good 4.
And Andon and Paula, how about you guys? What are your thoughts about the premarital counseling?
So we did do it. And I think we did that. And I think we also did a kind of a marriage.
We did a couple of
things. We did
things.
a few things. We did. I'll be honest, Andon was the one that's like gung-ho, and he had to like encourage me. I was about the premarital counseling. I think it was all the extra stuff, but I think what it does, it helps you to really like think about things that you didn't necessarily think about, because you think about marriage and life is going to be great and I can't wait to spend our lives together. But it also points out other stuff, you know, like, you know, what are you going to do when there's conflict? What's going to happen when, you know, you have to make a decision, you're both not on the same terms, you know, money, what are your dreams? Like, are we on the same page as far as goals and dreams? And so I think it's helpful. I think though, for the person to benefit, they have to make sure that the individuals have to be honest, and they have to be ready to receive that. Like what Dave was saying, you know, sometimes you're like, well, I'm just going to focus on the angle. Like you have to take it seriously. So it depends on where each person is at, and ensuring that you find a counselor, someone who's going to be honest and be straight up with you and say, you know what, I see these.
Right.
Yes.
And so I think it's beneficial as long as everybody all the way around is honest and upfront.
I like an analogy that our pastor used. We compared being in a car accident, whether you're being hit head on or being rear-ended. And the difference is, you know, a lot of times when you're rear-ended, you don't see it coming. It's so much, but head on, you see it coming. You can brace for impact. Either way you get hit. And marriage is getting hit, right? So premarital counseling is not going to solve everything, but it's at least going to give you a warning of what's coming.
Right.
I like that.
I love that. Yes.
So a lot of the things, like when we're going through it, we can go back and like, okay, so this is it, and these were, or the different ways to grow together, like, you know, being intentional about growing together, growing apart. You know, it taught us what to look at, and honestly, you know, it was a good thing, because like sometimes we had issues, and it's like we didn't know how to work it out, and it's like, okay, so we were vulnerable enough to speak about it there, and pastor helped us, you know. So, you know, as long as you're receptive to it, it is definitely a tool.
Yeah, that's great, Andon. And I think the honesty piece is key. Right? Because it makes no sense to engage in counseling if the individuals can't be honest, right? And a big part of any marriage relationship is intimacy. Can any of you speak on how intimacy changes through different stages of your marriage? Anyone?
Absolutely. When you get married, the intimacy is skin on skin.
Yes.
as the marriage grows, that skin on skin is still there, but now you become intimate in life. You become, it transcends the sexual, it transcends that instant gratification. So now you're in it for the long goodness. So the intimacy changes from a skin on skin to an actual almost visceral lifestyle where we are intimate with each other throughout the whole day, not just for those couple hours in the evening or the morning or on a Sunday or something. It's just, it's the first intimacy is like a McDonald's Happy Meal. There's nothing wrong with McDonald's.
Dave, tell us.
But now you're at the buffet. There is no need to rush because we have the rest of our lives to be intimate more than just skin. And skin is fabulous. But this is just, you know, there's
I love it.
There's so much more that
you're making Carole blush.
because TV shows, sorry, Andy, I know you're a great actor, but TV shows, they show intimacy as, you know, within this 10-minute segment and they move on to the next thing. This is life. And the intimacy just blossoms and grows, and there's a goodness about it that is just amazing.
What he said.
Wow. I love it.
I love it. I absolutely love
Love
it.
it, Dave.
I think, yes, I totally agree. I think that's a perfect description of how it should be.
I
love
know. Love it.
And
Love it.
the nice thing is, in a couple of years, we can ask your co-host how her intimacy has changed.
Right?
Fleshy.
Right? And I know that, you know, just leading up from that question too, like, Andon and Paula with children, like,
Hold on.
yeah. So can you tell us that perspective even? The kids come into the picture.
Well, that's the thing, because intimacy changes. I mean, the way that intimacy changes is as we change, because we talked about you know, the person, individual change, situations change, right? You know, because kids, I mean, even, you know, as soon as Paula got pregnant, like, you know, her body was changing, and, you know, in terms of what happens, right? And there are, I mean, sleep debt is a real thing. It, like, you know, like children, like, it's really different, but you have to know, and that's one of the things that, you know, I remember a lesson from marriage counseling is like, and Dave, you'll appreciate this, is like, if you're riding a motorcycle and two people are on it, you both have to lean into the turns, right? So, you know, being able to do this, and so can you imagine when we're kids, if she as a mom feeling like, okay, I'm competing, I'm supposed to be taking care of these kids, I'm going to take care of my husband, is like, you know what, and no man can serve two masters, and now this has become me versus you, as opposed to you know,
and us versus them.
Yeah. Yes.
It's probably going to be part of the recording.
Yeah. I think that, you know, when, like Dave was saying earlier, it's a linear, like when you have a very small picture of what intimacy is, and it has to, like, if you're going to grow, like, things happen, life happens. And so it has to expand. And so intimacy for us is just, we're learning more about each other. We're learning about our needs. We're learning about, you know, how we want to be loved, how the other person wants to be loved. Because we often go and think about ourselves, and it's really like, okay, we have to think about the other person too. It's kind of important, you know? Yeah, you know, and then also like prioritizing that for us. Because, like, especially when you have kids, I mean, we pour a lot into our children, but we have to be careful not to pour so much, and then they leave, and then it's like, who are you again?
Yeah.
You know? So the well runs dry here, but they're great. And then, and then you see the cracks. So it has to be very intentional. You have to work really hard, because there's going to be times where, honestly, you got to work harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what keeps, so that leads me to my next question, like, what keeps you guys going individually? Because I do believe that it's important for you to maintain that, you know, sense of who you are too and what you bring to the relationship. So what keeps you going individually and collectively as a unit, especially in the times when it's difficult, like it's really hard.
I was just looking at Andy because, you know, I didn't want them to miss out on time.
Yes. How about Andy and Paula taking a stab at that one?
Sure. Well, what keeps us going individually, I think we want to still have dreams that we want to accomplish, right? So neither of us are necessarily satisfied with where we are in our career life, for example. So having that goal of continual advancement, right, to achieve something in our career, that's one thing that keeps us going just as individuals. But both Paula and I recognize that, especially during this pandemic, there are opportunities for us to do things together that are just sort of opening up that we need to really fully explore. And at the very beginning, Paula had an idea of, or asked the question, so what's our marriage ministry? What is the thing that we are really doing as a couple? Why is it us two that are actually together, right? And not her with somebody else and me with someone else. And we've always had an idea it had to do with the arts, and I figured it had to do with music because, you know, this is the songstress here.
Yes.
But you know, this pandemic has really given us opportunities to explore that path. But that's definitely something I'm looking forward to exploring more as a couple, to really understand and sort of explode that marriage ministry element to our relationship.
Awesome.
I think one of the things for us that was kind of cool was, I think it might have been couples ministry. Kanisa that sent out a questionnaire, and we talked about your marriage goals. And, you know, have you guys updated your marriage goals? We looked at each other, it's like, oops, are we supposed to have that?
What's that? I know, what is that?
For us, I think I've been telling her this, that I cannot wait until I'm retired and I can annoy her all day long.
Oh man.
Like
Pray for me.
I can be in her space. We can do stuff because right now we have Friday to do things together, and it's worked out. God is amazing because he's worked it in such a way that the things that gives me energy are the same things that give her energy. So even though we're not laying on the beach on a Friday, perhaps, we're doing something that we like doing, but we're doing it together for somebody else's benefit. We're helping somebody here, doing something there. And that really works. That works so well for us. And it doesn't stop her from being an individual, because there's music she likes that I don't really like, but I have no problem taking her to the concert and picking her up afterwards.
Right.
I don't need to be in it because it'll take her enjoyment. She can come and tell me all about it, and I can enjoy hearing her talk about it. She's gone to Italy and went through this tour with this choir. And honestly, we still haven't looked at the pictures, but she got to go. We talked while there, we've talked about it, and it was fabulous for her.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to walk through Rome looking at things that, you know, but so individually do things that help us grow collectively as a couple. And what's turned into, I guess you could say, it's our marriage ministry, is we want to make sure that our home is our harbor.
Yeah.
Whether it's pandemic, whether it's stupidity of drivers, whatever it is out there. Here we're safe. So we're out there doing what we need to do. We've talked to whoever we need to do that day, because we always ask God, put somebody in our way who we need to talk to today.
Yes.
But then we can come home. It's like, whew, we're home. And, you know, Paula and Andon, you've got kids. So when you got home, it's still not a quiet harbor.
Yeah.
It's a safe harbor. Whereas, you know, we can come home. It's like, wow, okay. You know, and tomorrow we go out there and do it again. But she's doing her version. I'm doing my version, but we're still pushing forward, hopefully, following God's leading, so that when we come back to our harbor, we're still pleased with what's been accomplished, not because of us, but man, I can't believe we were actually there and that happened. We weren't even supposed to be there. But did you see the way it worked out? It's invigorating.
But really, we have no, when people talk about dreams and goals, I feel kind of feckless, to be honest, because I'm like, I feel like we're crisis management people more than anything else. And we really tend not to plan.
And it's not our own crisis.
It's everybody else's crisis.
It's really true.
Yeah.
We rarely plan ahead for anything. And it's, but for whatever reason, it works.
It works.
Yes.
The spontaneity is good. And I think Paula touched on, I'll say Paula B touched on something that you kind of alluded to, Dave, too, in that, after a time, I mean, for them, it might be after the children are grown and gone, but it could be after a period of time, years in your marriage, where you're going to look at each other and say, okay, well, who are you? You know what I mean? So it's important. I hear you. Like, it's important. What I'm hearing is that it's important for Carole to have her piece of her and then still enjoy the things that she does. And it gives you joy to know that she enjoys doing that, is able to do that on her own. And she brings that joy back to the marriage in terms of you being happy for her and both of you being able to be great in that space together, right? So it really is important for you to sort of maintain a piece of who you are, separate and apart from, the union as well, right?
Agreed.
Yeah. So you can go scuba diving in Honduras, and I will see all the pictures when he comes back.
I'd be on that boat. I'd be on that boat.
I would actually take pictures from above.
Just one thing I want to add, so Paula, like when you talk about tough times, right? Paula she's been through some things that, like, there are few people that I know personally who have been through more. Like, we've seen, you talk about for better or for worse, like, just seen some, right? And I know for us individually, if I mean perfectly honest, I don't know that all couples would have been able to go through what we've been through and still be together.
Okay.
We were not together. It would not be either of us' fault. It was like life was just that tough.
Yes.
But one of the things that really attracted me to her was her relationship with God.
Okay.
Even with her relationship with God and being so, and I watched it get deeper, and I watched it grow, and I watched it hit points where I even thought like it can't survive this, and yet it grew and it came back stronger than ever. And during those times when it's tough, I had to go back and get to my relationship with God as well. And then because of that, when we're able to come together, our foundation, when we do have our goals, I mean, our goals are, I don't know how many other goals that we hit anymore, right? But I mean, part of it is that, like letting God have the final say. Right? He is truly that foundation that is going to keep us together.
True.
Yes. Amen. And that's beautiful, Andon. And it's good that even within the marriage, individually, you can still grow spiritually, because it's important. You still have to foster that intimacy and that one-on-one time with God. Tap into that so you can make your union even more special. I love that. I love that.
Shan and Tam fam, I know you must be having a grand time listening to these couples, laughing your head off. I mean, they have given us like a wealth of information, just talking about love, marriage, growing in marriage. And, we're going to leave it here for today and pick up the conversation again next week, when we'll hear more from our three beautiful couples. In the meantime, fam, if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, click the subscribe button.
Yes.
It ain't costing you a thing. Subscribe, like the video, and guess what? Share it with a friend.
With a friend.
Share it with a friend. Until next time, we'll see you.